is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Wednesday. I'm sorry, it is Tuesday, August 24th, 2021, Season 17, Episode number 12. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Got Nick and Dave with me, and we're going to talk some Cowboys football here for the next 45 minutes or so. We got to talk a little bit about the Cowboys versus the Texans. We'll break down that game and some of the things that these guys saw. Dave, I see you're very enthusiastic about that. We will also, hopefully, get to some players in our I Get Around segment. There's some players, and I keep pushing this off because we get into our conversation. Our conversations take the whole show. But there's some players that before this camp is over, we really need to allow you guys to let people know who they are. So I want to run through some of these if we can.
Every day you're paranoid that we won't have enough to talk about.
I know.
Every day you push the last segment.
I underestimate how much we like to hear ourselves talk.
Facts.
You know what? No, we know what happened. I thought that when Amber was out, that we would have less talking. We don't. Like, you guys
I said before the training camp started, I was like, me and Nick can talk to a wall. Like, you don't have to worry about that.
If she heard that, she would have been like, right,
Jeez.
right, because she says you never talks.
Yeah, she talks enough.
Yeah.
She gets her airtime. I think she talks enough.
Well, anyways, you're right. We can make this thing work.
Here's what we're going to do, though. I do want to talk first about a little news. Cowboys find out yesterday, and actually this all started on game day on Saturday, but there are now 4 players and a coach for the Cowboys who have been placed in the NFL's COVID-19 safety protocol. That would be Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, and then Carlos Watkins, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Hooker, and Israel Mukumu. What does that mean for their availability at this point now that they're in the protocol?
I mean, it's hard to answer that definitively because we don't, vaccination status is not disclosed technically. We know the team's at 93%, so it's a good guess most of, if not all of them, are vaccinated, just playing the numbers. And that makes it way easier.
Dan Quinn certainly is.
Dan Quinn has to be.
Yeah.
So the protocol, if you're vaccinated, is you need 2 negative tests within a 48-hour period. So negative test, 24 hours. Negative test, 24 hours. So if you are COVID negative, you can be back in 2 days. So, and then which I guess there's a possibility that there's a breakthrough case among these guys. I feel like that probably would have hit the news cycle. Like somebody would be reporting that if that had happened. But I guess we'll see. So if for some reason you have symptoms, then it's 48 hours from your last known symptom. So that could be problematic.
And then is it 48 hours after your last known symptom, and then you have to have passed multiple tests, or how does that work?
Your symptoms subside, and then you do the test, 24 hours test, 24 hours. So that seems statistically pretty unlikely, but I guess possible. So we'll see. But I mean, if these guys are vaccinated, I think it's reasonable to think that they could be back by the end of this work week.
And worst case scenario, let's assume it was a case where they actually literally had contracted the virus.
Yeah.
You're still talking maybe 10 to 12 days or so. And ideally, you would think they'd be back before the season begins.
I don't think we're in a space where any of these guys are in jeopardy of missing season time, which this whole thing of having a week between the end of the last preseason game and the first regular season game, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the fact that the cuts are today. Got to
to 80. To 80, right?
To 80, 85 to 80. You got to knock 5 off. And I guess when you move a guy to the COVID list, he's technically off the roster.
Right.
But you can't. I mean, these aren't guys that are going to get cut anyway,
right,
so I don't know how long.
They'll be coming back on.
But you could if they're not available until Friday, you could wait until Friday to make those moves if you wanted to.
Yeah. For instance, let's just say a guy like Mukwamu, and that's how I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. You say Mukwamu or whatever, but
I'm just going by what PR gave me.
I know. Anyways, a guy like him who's on that list. He probably won't play this next game. I mean, he could, but he
just depends on how quickly he can get back.
So he probably doesn't. So that might affect the cuts of there's a safety sitting there that we haven't really heard much of all year. Hasn't done a lot. Maybe he would be a guy that was cut, but then he wouldn't be if Mukwamu's not playing this game. So it does affect, their roster moves right now.
That brings up an interesting point. Obviously, guys like CeeDee Lamb, and you could probably make the same case for Carlos Watkins. They're probably, definitely in CeeDee Lamb's case, on this team. There is no question, and them missing preseason games really doesn't matter. Which of the guys between the other two do you think misses the most by if they can't play this week and or next week between Malik Hooker and Israel Mukwamu?
Mukwamu for sure, I think. I could be wrong. I know they didn't give him a lot of money, but I think Hooker's here. They signed him a week into camp.
But he's also got to get himself ready to play. He was injured all last year, right?
He doesn't strike me as the type that would be playing a ton of snaps in this game anyway. And I know what you said makes sense, but it's still, getting ready for the season. He's a veteran. Sorry, were you?
Yeah, no, I was just going to piggyback on that. I mean, what has he shown since he's been back that isn't positive? I mean, like he's in practice he's made some plays. In the game, I thought he kind of came in there and was physical. And now he played some in the second half against maybe guys that aren't starters. But, I mean, I think everything that he's done is pointing the arrow up there. And I know how Jerry and this whole franchise loves to steal players. They want to steal talent. If you're a first-round pick and you didn't work out here for whatever the reason, they're going to try to capitalize on that. So
unless you're Josh Rosen.
Well, yeah,
you
were right, but I guarantee you they looked at it pretty closely and said, "All right."
I'm sure they probably did. Yeah.
So you have to. I mean, and so here's a position of need. He's a guy that's out there available because he's hurt and he was hurt. And so I don't see why you would cut him.
Which, I mean, they could. The money's negligible, and they cut HaHa last year. Like there's nothing stopping them. But you sort of, the longer you do this, you can just kind of read situations like that. And the way that they've ramped him up and just been very cautious and deliberate about the whole thing is like, yeah, we're trying to have him ready for the regular season. Maybe not necessarily as a starter, but just somebody that they can rely on for depth and somebody who's done that before. Whereas a mid to late 6th round pick, it's like get out there and get all the reps you can and show us something. Yeah. Whereas with Hooker, they're like, nah, you hang out and just get yourself ready.
Yeah, just to be clear, I wasn't thinking or suggesting that Hooker would be cut. I think he's going to be on this team. I was thinking more, and it goes back to I was listening to Brian Broaddus on our sister station on the Fan after the game. He was kind of talking about the game, and one of the things he noticed, which I think I noticed on a couple plays, I think Brian obviously has a much better eye for this than I do, but it seemed like on a couple of situations Hooker was a little late. Like it's just like he's trying to get his timing back, get his reaction back, his reaction time back. And so that's where I was saying, like, I think reps for him right now matter, getting him ready for the season.
Reps matter for everybody.
Except for Dak.
No, they matter for him too. Like it would have been nice for him to get 10, I'm sure. But again, risk first reward. And is Malik Hooker not playing against Jacksonville going to jeopardize his roster spot?
Not at all.
I don't think so.
Yep. All right. One other thing I wanted to hit you guys with, I was hopeful, as I'm sure you guys are and everybody out there listening, that this year was going to be different from the standpoint of going into every week and all the way up until game time, just hoping and praying that your best players don't have some kind of positive test or whatever. But we saw this week, obviously, things can creep up on you. You get to the game, and literally you lose your DC once you're at the stadium and preparing to play a game. How equipped do you think the Cowboys are to withstand situations like that going into the season?
You're talking about – sorry.
Well, which situations are you talking about? Any situations?
It could be any of those. Like I'm thinking about it from a standpoint of what happens if you get to game day and that's Mike McCarthy and he has to go home because he's been put into the protocol. Mm-hmm. What happens if it's your offensive or defensive coordinator? What happens if it's your quarterback? There's a lot of different scenarios. My question for you is, and this speaks to depth. This speaks to the kinds of coaches you have on your coaching staff. Do you have coaches who have experience doing other things that can step in a pinch? Like how do you think this team could react to those kinds of situations? How prepared are they?
Those are a lot of different questions because you're basically talking about the depth at all different levels. Let's just speak to the coaching staff first, and I'll let him talk about the players or whatever. But from the coaching staff, I mean, this thing is designed to have experience. That's what they're banking on, is they have experience on the staff. I believe they have 4 coaches 4 assistant coaches who have been a head coach at some point. I don't want to have to name them because I'm drawing a blank on them, but I think there's 4.
Philbin, Quinn. Wow, yeah, I'm blanking.
John Fossil.
Fossil was interim for a little while. There's a few.
I think there's actually one more as well. But yeah, I mean, and so that kind of stuff happens. Now, Joe Witt was the guy that stepped in. He's been with both McCarthy and Quinn, understands this defense, understands what Quinn's trying to do with the calls. So it was an easy move for him to slide in there. And McAdoo's the 4th one, and he's on the staff as well.
Yeah.
And you know, he's brought in, and he should be able to maybe help if something like that happens on the offensive side. And Myers has got a lot of experience too. So I think that they're equipped that way. But I think what they need to be ready for is have those conversations. We always talk about, and it's 1st and goal in the 8. I want to know if I've got 4 downs. Get ahead of the game. Be like that. They need to be ahead of this thing and go, what happens if we just saw it in a preseason game? What happens in a regular season game? Because I could tell you this, COVID doesn't care if it's preseason or regular season.
Or what your title
is.
And
the NFL, and then the NFL protocols don't care either. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what it is.
Which maybe that's beneficial. That obviously you'd prefer not, but you know, a little dry run at how to handle this could be good. And it wasn't just the game either. I mean, they went into the virtual. They did their virtual mode for the last 2 days before they came back to work. So I was going to say, if they're not equipped for this from purely a logistical standpoint, shame on them, because you had a whole year of getting real used to it.
Yeah.
So I think they're ready. I mean, depth. Sure. I mean, you can handle it if Michael Gallup goes down, but I mean, you know, if Dak had to leave the game, you're screwed. And I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot you can do about that other than hope for the best, and that's why getting vaccinated is important.
Yeah, but I mean, as we all know, though, even when you're vaccinated,
sure,
if you come up with a positive test on a game day,
right,
you still got to sit for a specific amount of time.
Anything you can do to make that number as low as possible,
right? And by the way, vaccinations help. Supposedly, that's at least what we're told, is the vaccinations help with making sure that maybe you don't get it in some situations where you would have gotten it otherwise. So I think there's all those things that are involved, and it just helps, right?
Yeah, and there's no foolproof. There's no 100% guarantee, and I know that bothers a lot of people, but bring that number down as much as you can.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, let's talk a little Cowboys versus Texans. Cowboys lose that game 20-14, but there were definitely some things you can take from the game that we'll talk about when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a Cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting Cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/Cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing: the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to the break.
The final Cowboys preseason game is Sunday, August 29th at AT&T Stadium. Don't miss your chance to see the Cowboys prepare for the 2021 season. A limited number of single-game, standing-room-only tickets are on sale now. Get yours today at DallasCowboys.com/tickets. Sunday at noon, Cowboys Jacksonville, standing room only.
Let's do it. We're back. It's the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's talk Cowboys versus Texans. Cowboys lose 2014 at home in their what I guess is for them is their third preseason game for the league. It's week 2 of the preseason. Let's start first with I want each of you guys to give me an impression you came away from the game with. Just one. It can be about a player. It can be about the team. Whatever you choose. Let's start with you, Dave.
First team defense. They're the only people that I really feel like you could fairly evaluate. I get Cooper Rush coming in unexpectedly and playing well, but it was a dress rehearsal for the defense. And oh, by the way, they didn't have the guy that calls their defense, Dan Quinn. Started the game behind the 8 ball. Quick change, turnover in the red zone. And all of that considered, I thought they played really well. I mean, the Texans are terrible, but they didn't allow a third down conversion while they were out there. Yeah, I mean, they gave up the touchdown, but again, that possession started on like their 16-yard line. Yeah. Some questionable run defense there at the very beginning, but they got it buckled down. Parsons had a couple flash plays. Oso Odigizua continues to look pretty impressive, and just by and large, I mean, they played an entire half and looked pretty good doing so, and I think that's the biggest sample size we have, and it was encouraging, albeit against a pretty bad offense.
Yeah, speaking about Parsons, I think we all reacted that one play when he got behind the line of scrimmage and then he's chasing down the quarterback, and just watching it in person and the closing speed that he had, it was amazing.
It doesn't do it justice to say he got behind the line of scrimmage because he blitzed and the center picked him up and he was like, "Nope, you're not going to block me. Get the hell out of my way.
You're a big guy, but I'm faster and quicker."
And
all that.
Osa did it like a stunt that kind of helped free him up. He came at the center from the other side and pushed him back into the guard, and so Osa had a big hand in freeing Parsons up to hurry that play. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say flash. I mean, they had a couple moments like that.
Yeah, somebody just hit the R2 button on him back in the old PlayStation. He just shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
All right, for me, and I'm not pushing the panic button. My hand's not on it, but I'm locating it. I want to know where it is, so I just know where the panic button is about this offensive line.
Oh.
I'm not there yet.
I'm with you.
But this offensive line hasn't looked great. They got a chance to be there together, and it didn't look great. And you can say, yes, I think Dak will help everybody. I think Zeke helps everyone. But I didn't think this offensive line needed all these guys to help them look good. I thought it was kind of the other way around. So they didn't look that great the other night. Lyell's not looking too hot on the right side. Tyron kind of is what it is. He's going to be fine, I think, Zach. I think they're going to be fine, but they didn't look good against the Texans, and it's just something I want to look at again.
I didn't think they looked that bad. Especially like once when Cooper got in there, it looked pretty good. I mean, they went 75 yards in 5 plays. Lyell did get beat. Garrett held on to that ball for a long time.
I put that on Garrett.
He did, but I'm just looking at the play itself and the rep for Lyell.
Yeah.
That shocked me that he was, because it was like his technique was all, everything about it just looked bad, and I was like, that's not what I was expecting from Lyell. If that were Steele out there, I'd be like, okay, Gilbert, you got to get rid of the ball.
You're kind of
Lyell. I'm expecting more.
Yeah.
You know,
that's fair.
He looks rusty.
He does.
And I think you could see it some at training camp. Now he looks. I mean, he's lost some weight, which I doubt he's lost a lot of strength.
Yeah.
But he's been the type of guy that's kind of been able to sort of overpower people. And he just doesn't. He doesn't have that right now. Hopefully, he gets that back and he gets in a groove. But I'm not going to say that it's time to worry just yet. But I think you kind of have your eyes on them because you're expecting so much from them.
Yeah, honestly, the reason why I even noticed that play initially when that happened with Lyell is because there'd been moments I just noticed here and there where I was like, somebody would beat him around the edge, and I'm like, that's not what I'm used to seeing. And so I made it a point going into this game. I wanted to watch Lyle a little bit more for the time that he was out there. And then that play happened, and it just kind of, I don't know, it's just not what I'm used to seeing for him.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to 2-3 years training camp. We thought Antoine Woods was ready to be a baller because he was beating Travis Frederick constantly.
Yeah.
Come to find out, Travis Frederick is
about to break some news.
Well,
somebody here.
No.
I know, right? I'm like nervous.
No, I'm not breaking news. I'm just saying we were kind of fooled because Travis Frederick was not 100%. He actually retired for the season, or it was IR for the season. He didn't retire. Sorry, it was IR for the season.
Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, well, that's why. Well, now I'm trying to figure out is Dorrance Armstrong just kicking everyone's ass, or is Lyle not what he was before? That's my point.
And that could be part of it, that Dorrance is just taking that next step, because everything about his camp was certainly noteworthy, and we talked a lot about it. The question is, were they really battling, or was it a situation where Lyle maybe is just rusty and is going to have to work back into that kind of shape?
I don't think it's a coincidence that Lyle's played more than any of the starting five. I mean, he played in Canton, which is, for guys on $70 million contracts don't play in the Hall of Fame game very often. So he's looked rusty for a more like on and off throughout training camp. So you're right, and I think he just needs time probably.
But Dorrance has beaten more than Lyle. So Dorrance has beaten a lot of guys on other teams too.
He beat up on Tyron in practice like a week ago. He beat Tyron 2 or 3 times for sacks. So
and I don't want to, and I'm with you, Nick. I guess the point is I don't want to hit the alarm button, because I implicitly trust these offensive linemen when they're healthy to be good. Now, healthy is more of an issue to me than rust. I feel like they can work back from that. I feel like they'll work into form. I feel like by about week 3-4, this offensive line, as long as they're healthy, will be clicking, and you will see the production that you expect to see from them. I do think, though, right now, I'm a little bit like, okay, I need to see that progression. Like, I need to see you getting a little bit better and getting back in that form.
I would argue that they progressed in that game. First possession looked awful. Second possession, not a lot better. Third possession was rush, and they just right down the field.
How long did the one stay out there on the offensive line?
They were there for at least 2 series with Cooper. And they,
and then
they scored 2 touchdowns.
I think you have to ask. I don't know this. How long were the defensive starters for Houston? Whole half.
And again, this is that's not a roster that should impress you, at least not at the top. So I get it, but I'm not that worried about the offensive line yet, while still allowing that you are right that they haven't looked up to the standard that we have for them.
But
that's a high standard.
Everybody will help each other. Dak will help them. The line should help Dak, Zeke, vice versa, all that. So get all the pieces in. Let's see how it works.
Let's talk a little bit about the quarterbacks. Cooper Rush was 10 of 12, 97 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Garrett Gilbert was 3 of 5 for 30 yards, 0 touchdowns, and also had a fumble lost. Where do you think the backup QB battle stands at this point?
Can we just have a larger conversation for a second about some of the decision making that's happening here?
Absolutely.
I thought about it with Malik Hooker as well. It's like, we don't want him. He's not in the offseason program. He's not part of the install in the spring. And then 2 days into camp, they're like, yeah, we want him. Never mind. And maybe he wasn't healthy, but you could have signed him and had him here training and getting up to snuff. That's weird. Weird that was when they decided to do it. Weird that they decided to work Connor Williams at center 2 days into training camp, not during the spring or any other time during the 4 years that he's been here. And it's weird that this became a quarterback competition a week before camp's over, because it sure as hell hasn't been up to this point. Am I mistaken about that? Garrett Gilbert has been the guy.
Go
ahead. Sorry. No.
Well, I was going to ask this question. Is that because up until this point, maybe they hadn't seen enough from Cooper Rush that made them think he's really battling for this position?
They never gave him a shot. He had not taken a rep with starters until he went into that game.
Right. So, but I'm saying, is that not because maybe something they've seen over the last week or two made them say, hey, we ought to give him a shot? And Gilbert wasn't having the great start there. So maybe that all kind of culminated in him getting that shot, right?
Maybe. So he looked that amazing as the second string quarterback for enough consecutive practices, and then which, it sounds like maybe that was their plan to give him more time, but like the optics of Gilbert in the dress rehearsal game, the optics of him getting yanked after 2 possessions certainly made it look like he had done something wrong, which, he didn't look good. So that's a fair point. But it just, again, like when you're here every day looking at it and seeing who's taking the first team reps, who's doing this in the walkthrough, and there hasn't been a single indication this entire time that it was much of a competition. Maybe those are conversations that are different behind closed doors, but it's interesting to me. And so, to answer your question, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. So now Cooper's taking the first team reps all this week, supposedly. You'd imagine he's going to play a lot against Jacksonville.
And this is huge because whoever is not the backup, the likelihood is they're not on this team, right?
Yeah, they could be on the practice squad.
True.
Because I still think you can get those guys on the practice squad if you don't want to put DiNucci on there. And
we'll get to him. Wow. We'll get to him momentarily.
Okay, I get it. He's not Romo. He's not going to be. He's probably not going to be that. We compared him a lot to it. He's not there yet. But if you want to develop him, the practice squad and the scout team is a good place to do it. He will be more beneficial on the scout team than Garrett Gilbert or Cooper Rush if they are on it.
In what way?
Because he's athletic. He helps you more. He helps you more when the players that kick their ass, like a Kyler Murray that runs all over the place or Russell Wilson that runs all over the place, he will give them a better look for what they might see than a guy like Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert. So, in my opinion, I think he's the guy that stays on the practice squad, and I think if whoever they cut between Gilbert or Rush, they probably don't. That's my thought.
I completely agree with you. And if I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if DiNucci winds up on the practice squad for that very reason. They used to use, after they transitioned Jameel Showers to safety, they would use him as the practice squad quarterback when they played a mobile quarterback. Like that stuff's useful. And practice during the season is not what we see out here. Like that's not what you see in Oxnard. It's basically a glorified walkthrough to give the team looks at what the opposition does.
Now, I will say this though. This is not like every guy on the roster, every quarterback that they face is going to be a running quarterback. So I guess you do have to ask the question: is he going to give them a good look with throwing the ball and beating this guy and all that? Because
Because you got some of those you got to face.
But again, and we obviously, and Ben DiNucci has not been good, let's be clear. But the quality of the throw is not that important in practice. I know that sounds stupid, but it's more about what concepts are we looking at? What can the quarterback do? Where's he going to throw the ball from? Where's the receiver on this particular play that they like to run? Whether or not the throw's worth a crap isn't as important as giving the team a look at what's going to happen on Sunday, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And if a guy gets beat deep in a scout team, and Reggie Davis or whoever it is has got your guy beat and the ball's not there,
you know he was still beat.
You still know he was beat. Yeah. You still know that
DiNucci could throw it 15 yards over the guy's head and it looks like crap from the outside, and the coaches are like, yeah, that's what Russ is going to do on Sunday, and it's going to be right where it needs to be. So now you know. Now so you can can watch that and see.
Yeah, but, good point.
So that's why he could be beneficial. That's a reason right there. You also, for all practice squad spots though are also, but there's a lot of ways to look at it. If it's close between Gilbert and Rush, and right now we're going game by game, so we think it's not close because Rush looks way better. But let's say it is. Let's say it's pretty close because it has been a close competition. You can still put a guy on the practice squad, and then he's still in the mix for if something were to happen to your quarterback, you could move him. DiNucci's not playing any games. So, and he's not probably a guy you're going to have develop for the future. I don't see it out of him. I don't see anything that's going to say he's going to do it. So, I can make a case if I'm in a debate class, and I wouldn't want to be against you since you're a state champion. But if I'm in a debate class, I could take the side to keeping DiNucci. I could also say you're going to Canada. because that's where your career is.
Keep him meaning on the practice squad, right?
Huh?
Keep him meaning on the practice
squad.
He should not be your backup.
I'm no chance. I am sick of the over-the-top hate that DiNucci's been getting. And to be clear, he's been really bad, but he's the fourth quarterback. But the venom that people build up for this guy.
Well, that's also because you got to understand the nuance to that, because people feel like it was a pick that was made out of personal relationship more so than out of the guy's ability. And so far on the field, you haven't seen the ability. Right?
He was picked 10 spots from
just because they went to Pittsburgh. Look, like is that the narrative?
I'll tell you this.
What's the narrative?
That's what you see on. I think that's what you see on social media a lot. Is
the narrative
why
is that
still here?
McCarthy has a tie to him because they're from Pittsburgh and he knows his youth basketball coach.
That's the narrative. And again, I'm not saying that narrative is right.
In here, then.
I'm not saying that narrative is right. What I'm saying is that's why the venom is out there. So just understand that's why people are reacting in the way they are.
We're talking about a guy that was picked 10 spots from the end of the draft. And nobody's a bigger draft geek than me, but I don't understand how people can work up that much emotion about players who don't matter. Basically, and no offense to Ben,
he doesn't right now. If he manages to get up to where they thought for any reason they thought he was the backup quarterback, then he does matter.
But that's my point. Is it's not going to happen. Right. And even I'm sitting here defending Ben DiNucci. If he's on the 53, I will freak out.
That's what you're ready to do.
I will be ready to be mad if he's on the 53.
I think we all agree on that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll step out on a limb and say the backup quarterback is on this roster for better or for worse.
I agree with you.
Because there won't be somebody available that they're willing to pay for. You're not going to trade for somebody from Chicago. If they get cut, they're probably going to have a better market than what the Cowboys are going to be willing to pay. Jerry Jones said it this morning. They are bending over backward to let you know that their investment is in the starter. They're like, well, what can you do when you pay Dak $40 million?
I think.
But
it's harder. It is much harder. I acknowledge that.
If you're a backup quarterback that is available and he's got some experience, and let's say he's got some interest from other teams, when you're looking at your options. And money is going to factor into it as well. But let's just say that it's about even. You think the Cowboys are an intriguing team for that player with Dak coming off an ankle injury?
Depends on where they are in their career.
With Dak has a shoulder, a strain, and that he's missed all of training camp. I mean, do you look at it and go, man, I can come here and maybe
get on the field?
Because Andy Dalton came to Dallas knowing that Dak had never missed a game ever. And then he plays a lot, and that helped him. That got him more money.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but man, and not in I'm not reveling in somebody's misfortune, but it would just be kind of funny if Dalton was the odd man out in Chicago and was like, well, I do have that house in Dallas.
Could happen.
It's not.
You just never know. But
that would be pretty shocking.
I still don't think the Cowboys would be willing to pay what another team would be willing to pay.
Probably not.
Some team at the beginning of the season this year is going to lose their quarterback. It's just the nature of the NFL. So if he's sitting out, even if he waits a couple weeks, if he's sitting out there, he's going to make more money going to that team to be their presumptive starter than he would make as a backup that got signed at the end of training camp for the Cowboys.
We're not right about a lot, but I vividly remember, and we're not right about everything is what I should say, but I vividly remember December, before last season was even over, we were just they're going to come to an agreement with Dak. They're going to pay him, and Garrett Gilbert will be your backup because pennies on the dollar. Yep. And it might be Cooper Rush, but that's what's going to happen.
All right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. I do want to talk a little bit about a couple defensive guys and how they performed in this Cowboys versus Texans game. We'll be right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with United Ag and Turf. Before you can park yourself in front of the game, park yourself in a John Deere and power through your chores. Our Land Run package is a 1025R, 25 horsepower tractor with a loader, rotary cutter, and a box blade for $229 a month. And the price you see is the price you'll pay, no surprises. So don't miss another kickoff.
Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com. Offer ends February 1st, 2021. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Now let's get to work.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit AT&T.com for details.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar. And a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Get the ultimate fan experience. For the ultimate Cowboys fan, join Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, starting at just $20. Join now and get your fan pack. Exclusive access to training camp benefits. Better hurry on that. And more. Visit DallasCowboys.com/United for details and to join today.
Did you just say I could get a fanny pack?
Did I say that?
Did he say fanny pack?
I said get your
I wasn't
fan
paying attention, to be honest with you.
Oh, fan pack, not fanny pack. I thought you said fanny pack. I was like, we giving away fanny packs? Okay.
It's okay.
Right.
Some people have fanny packs.
Do they?
Yes.
I wear one to run.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like what you're imagining. It's like slimmer, but like I put my phone in it.
Oh, I know
put
what you're
my
talking
keys
about.
in it.
Yeah, I asked Dave about it. I was like, "Do you have a fanny pack? Is it training camp?" And you're like, "Yeah." What? I was like,
huh?
Okay.
I used to like
got a little aggressive.
What time's the press conference? I was like, "Okay."
Back in the day, I used to have to like tie my car key to my shoe if I wanted to go for a run and all that stupid stuff.
You don't carry a water bottle? You put it in the water bottle?
No. Why would I carry a water bottle? That's annoying.
Because you're going to be out running.
No. Just drink when I get
See,
back.
I don't. When I look at stuff like that, I just think like I'm old. Like Dave's younger, hip, all that. Maybe that's the thing. Fanny packs are cool. I don't know.
I wouldn't go as far as
I'm not saying they're cool, but I don't. I
It's
just
useful
don't,
if you're running.
I don't really question it anymore because I don't.
I do think they're. I think they're more back than they used to be.
Cool. I thought it was probably not called that.
Everything goes in cycles.
Well, let the team over there with the fan club know they may need to get fanny packs. Like, let them know that. So, all right. Welcome
Join
back
now and get your fanny pack, exclusive access to
back.
training camp benefits and more.
Welcome back to the final segment
What a
of the Break
mess.
Live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. Let's talk about the defense. Jabril Cox, he continues to impress here in the preseason.
My guy.
How much do you anticipate he will play at linebacker when the regular season begins, or is he really just trying to make this team and he's probably going to be a special teams guy for now?
He ain't trying to make Jack. He's on.
He's
the
on.
He's on the. He's
right.
been on
the team.
I mean, he's making a case for why he should play. It's just hard to make the numbers work. To be honest with, I mean, do we want to do that? You want to do
not
this?
yet. We'll take that on
You
another
want to
show.
talk about number 9?
We'll talk about that on
I
another
think
show.
you keep 6 linebackers active to the game.
Wow, to the game. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Is that not? I thought 5 was normal to the game.
I think 6 is fine if 2 of them are going to be core special teams guys, which I believe Gifford and Cox will be. So
you think Gifford's going to make the team as well?
I think you keep 6 for sure.
I would put him on.
I think Francis Bernard, has he played? I mean, he hasn't done anything.
No, but I'm looking at some other
Who else?
positions where I'm looking at other positions. This is not about linebacker. This is about I'm worried about being able to what my cut's going to be on the defensive line. I'm worried about the secondary, what the number I'm going to need to keep there. I think there are some positions maybe you want that 6 wide receiver. I think there are a number of positions on this team where I'm like, I think I might want an extra guy. Linebacker's one where I feel like it's a luxury to have an extra guy because I think my 5 give me a lot of cut. Like I think I can get a lot out of those 5.
I hear you, but I mean, this is I don't think a backup at each spot is really deep. I mean, if you're going to play, even if you play 4-3, if you play 4-3, that's a backup at each spot. That's not 3 linebackers, 6 guys. That's not overly deep. Even especially if you play a 3-4 scheme, even though some of those ends would be defensive pass rushers. I think 6 is a solid number. I don't think it's heavy. I think it's probably just.
I mean, we'll get into it next Monday. We're going to do a show where we're going to try to cut the roster, and I think that's when we can really kind of break those things down. But go ahead, Dave.
I just 53 players, 25 offense, 25 defense, 3 specialists. My guess would just be you can go heavier on defense with this roster. Like I think the offensive positions are going to look a lot lighter. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. You could probably even get away with having 2 if you really wanted to, because mean, Dowdle goes to the practice squad or whatever, but 3 running backs, 3 tight ends for sure. Like, I can't think of why you would need more than that. And if Connor Williams is your center, you could even maybe get away with going light at offensive line. I get that might bother people, but haven't seen anything from Terrence Steele and Ty Nsekhe that makes you think that they got to have both. So, maybe you could even go 8 or 9 on the offensive line instead of 9 or 10, and then that opens you up. You can go heavy at every defensive position, and I think they should.
Okay. Let's talk about Malik Hooker. He's got his first action in the preseason. What did you guys see from him?
I agree with what you said that Brian said, that he looked like he was getting reacclimated. I think of him as a coverage guy. It was a nice tackle he laid on that receiver going over the middle, like one of the first plays of the third quarter.
He also came flying in on run support in the middle of it was just behind the line of scrimmage. Now, I don't know if he was feeling great after that play. He kind of maybe got the worst of it, but he was in there. He was in the mix, especially for a guy that's free safety. I look at that position. I've always thought the safety position, especially in the last 15, 20 years, is an interchangeable spot. I mean, I think gone are the days that you got your hard-hitting Ronnie Lott guy and you've got your ball-hawking safety that's a free safety. I mean, I think a lot of them can kind of play both roles. I think Barry Church was, Keanu Neal, I'm sure, was more of a strong safety and all that, but some of these guys can do multiple things. So I do think Kazee and Hooker could both play together if they're out there, and Donovan Wilson too.
It was either our mailbag today or yesterday, but somebody was like, well,
mailbag.
Couldn't Kazee and Hooker conceivably play at the same time? And I was like, I don't expect that to happen because you want to find a way to get Donovan Wilson on the field, and again, they are interchangeable, but one I think is still a little bit more physical than the other. But I definitely think that's something that could happen. And they also used the 3 safety look at one point during that game, so you could have the 2 of them out there with Donovan Wilson. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's easy to just think of it as like he's a free, so he's got to play free, and that's not necessarily true. So,
talk to me about Bradley and Nye. I think he had there was one play I remember specifically. It was a really nice tackle for a loss he had. He kind of stonewalled the defensive. I think it was either a tight end or a tackle that was trying to move him, and he kind of kept the edge on him, set the edge, and then makes the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. My question for you guys is there room for him if the Cowboys are going to have Chauncey Golston on the final roster without moving him to some sort of PUP or IR or whatever like that? Is there room for him actually to make this team?
I don't think so. I don't see. I mean, forget the room. How about the need? Is there a need for him to be on the team? Other than you want to keep developing him, but I don't think so. I think he's a practice squad guy. If he gets claimed, he gets claimed. I mean, I unless you think he's better than Basham, which I don't think that they think that way.
I don't think that's true.
Dorrance Armstrong, I believe, is better than Basham, or at least he's showing that. Either way, those are your 3rd and 4th pass rushers. And I think when it's all said and done, I think they're going to keep Jaylon Smith on the team. I think Jaylon Smith is going to be more of a pass rusher than any other thing, and I think he's a guy that rushes off the edge more than he does anything else.
Have we seen him doing a lot of that so far?
No,
I think I've seen more of Parsons doing that than him, right?
Haven't seen Jaylon doing that.
That means neither have the Bucs, neither have the Chargers, neither have. I think Jaylon Smith will be rushing the passer. I think that you got to, if you're going to keep him. And I think that's an if. But if you're going to keep him, you got to figure out where to play him. And I think he's a straight line runner. I don't think he's a backpedaler. I don't think he's a side to side. I don't think he's a reactor. I think he's a go get the guy. Use your God-given ability to go up there and smash someone.
That's a lot of money to be your 5th best pass rusher.
That part of it's not even.
That was in March. They decided in March he was worth it and a lot of money. So he's going to be a lot of money whether or not he's on this football team or another football team or nowhere. It's a lot of money. So now you got to figure out that the hay's in the barn on that. Now you got to figure out where to play him. And I think he's a pass rusher more than anything.
But I guess what I'm saying though is I hear what you're saying, but when does he get that opportunity? Who are you going to take off the field to say, yeah, put him out there to do that when he's the 5th best guy, 6th best guy maybe that does that on your team?
Well.
Not only that, which sorry, but I've been saying that for 2 years.
Yeah, you have.
But like watching him in the preseason, I'm like, is he even fast enough to rush the quarterback?
I don't know. I don't know that he would.
Is he even fast enough to rush the quarterback right now?
No, you're right. You're right, and that's why it's like. Like when they go to 2 tight ends, I mean, there's a reason they do it because they want to be able to show you could run, we could pass out of this. You don't know what we're doing. He's going to have to be that element where he can pull back and be in coverage, hold your breath, or he's going to be rush the passer and all that.
But
stuff.
Again, I think there are other guys that do that better already on this team, which that's why I'm
who
like.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Armstrong, Basham, and Anai?
Well, if you're talking about that can also pull out, I mean, and also drop into coverage.
Stop.
They can also drop into coverage. I'm talking about Parsons, obviously. Right. Like he's the guy that also can drop into coverage. He can blitz. He can do all that. So why would I want to put Jaylon in that type of position when I got a guy who does that extremely well?
Well, just because they can do it from a different way, because he can do it from the middle of the field, linebacker. He can move back into the line. I mean, there's different aspects of it, and you're talking about guys that are like pass rushers. That I mean, there's an element of surprise that he could blitz or he could pull back into coverage. And
I just never honestly, and we've talked about this. I know both of you guys have talked about this. I've never really seen Jaylon be a really good pass rusher.
All right,
I've seen him rush before, and I've seen most of the time he gets washed out. So I mean,
all right,
I
this is going to railroad the show.
Okay,
but so what do you want to do? You're a business savvy guy here. You've already spent $9 million on it. You've already bought this car or this house, and it leaks oil. Okay, what do you want to do with it? You've already bought it, and you can't sell it right now.
Here's my thing. That doesn't mean I want to take it out for a drive if I know it's going to break down while I'm out on the drive.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where I may have already sunk the cost, and if that's the case, I'll keep it parked in my driveway.
Best of show. It's going to look pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to look good in my driveway. People are going to drive by. They're going to say that guy has a great car. But at the end of the day, I'm not driving it because I don't want to necessarily break down. I hate breaking down while I'm out, and that means I got to call somebody to come pick me up, tow the thing back to my house so it can look pretty. Now it's going to look pretty on the back of a tow truck. I'm sorry, I'm just not. That's not my thing.
This sounds like I had set him up for this earlier. That answer,
you did not.
That was great. That was
But I'm just saying, like that's.
Okay.
I don't see him as being. And again, I know sometimes it comes off as we're bashing Jaylon. I'm not trying to bash Jaylon. I'm looking at this training camp, and I'm looking at all these linebackers they got, and they got a ton of linebackers that can play. I don't think Jaylon is better than them. I think right now Jaylon is he's probably 5th best linebacker on this team. I don't think you make a role for him if he's not the best one to do that role, in my opinion.
I don't necessarily disagree with anything you're saying. I'm Mr. Bayou Bengal. I'm not ready to put Cox over him just in the sense that he's playing backups. It's still the preseason, and he's been great. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to say that.
His upside, of course, is there.
Yeah.
Well,
but that all
factors in. But go ahead.
That's beside the point. Yeah, even at best, he's still the 4th linebacker on this team. And yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys need to have the guts to limit him to like a role that would see him on the field 30% of the time or less, honestly.
So here's a question for you.
I didn't
say that they wouldn't. They need to have the guts to do that.
But here's the question. So that all being said, name a role where he is at least 3rd best on this team at that role.
Or I mean, I don't. That's whatever. But early downs base package. If you want to put him out there as the Sam in situations where you feel confident that they're going to run the ball, that's okay. He can still do some of that stuff.
Goal line linebacker. 3rd best.
I wouldn't put him 3rd best, but
I mean, who would you put over? I mean,
I think I would take Neal over him.
Because
my issue with Jaylon is more, I don't think his pre-snap identification of what's going on is great. I think he takes a lot of false steps, and then I think he can't recover. So goal line, I need you to know what's coming, and I need you to hit it quick because you don't have much time to react. Like you got to get there quick in order to keep the guy from getting in the end zone. So again, I'm just having a hard time finding where I think he is the best at a role, 2nd best at a role, even 3rd best at a role, which means somebody has to come off the field that's better than him, in my opinion.
If it's early down and they're in big personnel, I can live with Jaylon being on the field.
With that too. He's going to be better than Neal of getting hit by a defensive end.
Yeah, he's more. I mean, he's a bigger player. He can hold up against some of that better. And I mean, no knock on.
He's got to do it though. He can't go around the other side because that's one thing. That's a knock on him, and we're seeing it. He avoids the big blockers at times, and that sounds good because that doesn't hurt as much. But you've just created a huge gap because that guy just took you where you wanted to go.
I'll give you one area where I do think he is really valuable to have on this team.
Don't say it.
What? I was going to say availability. Okay. Like, you can't argue his availability. You got a lot of guys that have not been available at that position. Yeah. He's been available. So that matters in the NFL. Can you be available? So that might be the reason why he needs to be here.
I've had that argument with a million people of like, and nobody's trying to say Jaylon is amazing or should be starting with all these other options, but with what this team has been through, it's not a bad thing to have a guy who's played 1,000 snaps in a season as your top option if somebody gets hurt.
Right. Because the likelihood is that somebody will.
I've been thinking about this a lot. It's interesting. I get that, and it hit me the other day where I was like, if they were to cut him, it says, like, not only is he not one of their 3 or 4 best linebackers, they also have such a low opinion of him that it would like be a problem for the team and the development of the team, that they're like, this guy
got to go.
He's got to go. He is a problem if he's not starting. He will make life miserable for everybody. That is the signal that it sends if they were to cut him. And I'm not 100% like, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that would happen. Yeah. And so does it suck that you're paying $7.5 million for a backup? Absolutely. But depth isn't a bad thing.
Well, I mean, all you have to do is listen to Jerry Jones talk this morning on The Fan, 105.3. He was asked specifically about Jaylon Smith's role, and his 4-minute answer about the depth of the linebacker did not ever include Jaylon Smith by name at all. That was alarming to me because now you're not even mentioning. The question was about Jaylon, and then you just talked about the depth, which means I'm not talking about him. We've got depth, which means maybe we are going to get rid of him.
Maybe he's not in the depth. And I don't know. I don't ever. You'll get in a very tough situation. You ever start trying to figure out what Jerry's meaning by what he says and doesn't say.
I get it.
But that was something that stood out to me too when I heard the response. But ultimately, I just think it comes back to, and I'm a big believer in once you got a guy on your team, it doesn't matter the amount of money you play him where you need to play him. I'm just having a hard time figuring out what is the role where I'm like, he's my right option to be out there as opposed to somebody else. Yeah. And I'm having a hard time finding that for him. That's going to be the challenge for these coaches.
Or, shoot, I personally, if he doesn't play snaps sometimes, that's fine with me. Again, like the money's spent.
Can he be an inactive guy?
I doubt that.
You just finished saying you want to make six linebackers active. If he's playing special teams, obviously, he can get on the field playing special teams, you would think.
I don't think he's
inactive. Hope so.
I think you'd just probably release him. I think you would release him.
If it were to get to a point where Jaylon Smith isn't getting a jersey on game day, then yeah, that
would be a huge drop. I have a hard time just thinking that happens because it's just going from being the contract he's got to being the every down starter. Did he play the most snaps of any defender last year?
Absolutely. Yeah. He was the only defender who was available every week.
Right. To go from that to then just like that and not actually getting any benefit from cutting him. Like, you're not making any money back by cutting him. Like, that all seems a little bit like I don't expect that to happen.
The irony of paying, $500,000 for a jersey you don't wear?
Jesus.
Oh, God, stop.
I'm just saying, that's
a
fact.
You like roller coasters at all?
Yes, I do. That's why I like working here.
They got, good point.
It's fun.
They got this thing at Cedar Point in Ohio called Top Thrill Dragster.
Yeah.
It's 9 seconds. It just goes 400 feet in the air and straight back down. That's Jaylon.
That's my kind of thing.
Oh, I want to go real bad.
Yeah, I'm all
Cedar
in.
Point's high on my bucket list. But that's Jaylon's career trajectory, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you thought he might not ever play again.
And then he just
should have been a Pro Bowler in 2018, signs a $70 million contract, and now we're talking about if he'll even get a jersey on game day. That's insane.
That right.
We're talking about it. I'm not sure coaches are, so let's be clear.
The fact
this is not something we're hearing from the organization.
No, we are not hearing it. Yeah. The fact that we are even idly debating it about a guy on that contract is nuts.
Yeah, true. That's true.
That ride probably they run that multiple times in a day.
Yeah.
In an hour.
Yeah.
So that's what his hope is. Get back on the ride.
Yeah, sure.
Get up there
Get
again.
back up there again. Yeah, his career could just be a bunch of those kind of ups and
It
downs.
could be. And if it is, then that's it'll make people, pissed off all the time because, honestly, that's Tony Romo's career.
That's interesting.
I don't
know if the lows were as low. I don't know if the lows were
Not only
as low.
that, it was. It's a longer ride. Tony Romo
Well,
was.
that's what I'm saying. That was his whole career. Was that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Up and down.
Think about it. I actually got. I did one of those YouTube rabbit holes the other day. Broncos Cowboys 2013.
Yeah, that was a good game.
It was a great game.
Yeah, he dueled him.
He had a chance. He had the ball. It was 48-48. He's sitting at 506 in the passing yards. The record for all time is 561. Get your team in field goal range to go win the game, and you win 51-48.
Well, the Broncos undefeated.
I don't think they were undefeated, but they were.
They were one of the best teams in the league.
They set the record for all the best offensive.
Takes
things,
them down the field and scores a touchdown or gets a field goal. He's probably going to get about 60 yards passing, no running at that point. You're gonna set the all-time passing record. You're going to outduel Peyton Manning, and you're going to beat him 51-48. He could have been considered right then and there without playoff success. He's right on with that top level, top 5, whatever. He throws a pick.
Mm-hmm.
He wastes this great 2006. He comes in. He's the star. He fumbles the snap in Seattle.
Sounds like a book.
I'm just saying that is his career.
Yeah.
All these great moments, but it was his interception against Washington in the 2012 season finale that Dave still remembers and didn't even work here then.
Didn't.
I remember that.
I didn't have an opinion on Tony Romo at that time.
People that love Romo have these 12 plays. The people that hate him have these 12 plays.
That's right.
That's his career.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, Jalen's not at that point. He hadn't done he needs the 12 plays over here, but he's got a few, but he needs more of them. But maybe his career can be like that, but we haven't seen it yet.
I don't. It's hard to watch him play and imagine that he's going to get back to that level.
I hope he does.
I hope he does.
We all do.
Nobody's rooting against Jaylon Smith, at least not in this room.
Yeah.
But he just looks like he's lost about 3 steps from 2018.
Yeah, and I really agree with your premise. I do think it will be a smart idea if these coaches can figure out a role for him that makes sense, because I think it would be better for the team that you have a guy like that has some kind of role. I'm just having a hard time figuring that one out, and obviously they are much smarter about this kind of stuff than I am, so that's why they're paid those bucks, is to figure that part out. But I'm just having a hard time figuring out where he fits.
I just think that's kind of what makes it easier for me, is the fact that the money's locked in. Like you can't improve the team by getting rid of him, and so if he's just depth, like I said, it's not ideal, but it's better than Jaylon Smith. If he's your best linebacker coming off the bench, that's better than a lot of teams have in terms of depth.
Absolutely.
So that's not the end of the world.
All right, guys, appreciate you joining us. We'll be back on Thursday, and we'll talk a little bit more about Cowboys. Get you guys ready, actually, for Cowboys versus Jaguars. Still then for Nick Even, Dave Hellman. I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!